Welcome everyone. Sorry it's so late. Obviously today was a busy day. We had 4 companies report their quarterly results. So it took me a while to get all the information down into my spreadsheets and everything else. So we'll have a pretty long video today because we're going over 4 companies' financials. So it's going to take a little while. But obviously that's fun. The other part of it is Bitcoin did really well today, right? We'll get into Bitcoin. It was up nicely today. Bitcoin miners were up huge as well today. Bitfarms was up, I think, one of the leaders at the end of the day, along with Hashrate was up nicely today. So we'll take a look at all that's going on there, but we'll first get into the Bitcoin charts on hash rate, hash price, all that stuff as well, and then we'll get into the details. We also have Iren that we have to report on doing an ATM. They're growing, which is great. So we got a lot to cover here, so I'm going to kind of go through this relatively quickly as fast as I can. And obviously you guys know this drill, not financial advice for him only. This is my full disclosure to you guys. And then if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. So let's get into the charts here. We'll kind of roll through this as fast as we can here. So we're seeing that the total hash rate on the network hash rate, Bitcoin network hash rate, has been coming up here a little bit on the 7-day average. It's back up to 591 exahash. On the 30-day, we can see it's actually trending down a little bit more here. We're down to 607 exahash, right? So it's kind of coming down as obviously the daily and the weekly are coming down as well. So we're seeing that now a little bit as well. And then if we look at the Bitcoin transaction fees per day, we are still low, right around, and that one's not even populating. We're right around like 20 something like that, so it's not that much. But obviously they're having an issue with the site, or my web browser's having issues. Looking at the Bitcoin hash price, obviously that jumped up quite nicely today with Bitcoin price going up above 60 or 66,000 or right around there. We'll take a look at it here shortly. So that's obviously good. That's making the miners more profitable, obviously, as well. And then here we go. We got Bitcoin here being up 7.65% on the day, closed at 66,244, right? This was a great day. And then yesterday's video, I said, we have this wedge pattern forming here a little bit, this triangle. Potentially we might break above it or go below it as well. Right now, it's obviously gone above it, which is nice. So that's obviously a good sign there. Let me see here. Go back to, I got something popping up on my screen here, which I don't like. Sorry, guys. Bear with me here. I'm going to have to type in something in my other computer because it's blocking my view of something else. So let's see if we can get that to go away. And we can't. So I'll just move it out of the way for now at least. Okay, there we go. Sorry. But yeah, like I was saying, right, I drew this triangle yesterday thinking that we may kind of go above it here potentially later on this week. I didn't think it was going to happen the next day, but it did. So it was great. Obviously, that benefited the miners here tremendously. And you can see here that the miners are up nicely today. ANY was up 11%, Argo was up 11%, Digital was up only 4.87%, it was up after hours as well. BitDeer was up 5.2%, Bitfarms up 14.91%, Cypher up 12.13%, Cleanspark up 11%, CORZ up almost 7%, Digihost was up almost 10%, DMG was up 7%, Hive was up 8%, Hut8 up 13.35%, Iren 6.78% on the day, and I think it was trending down after hours because of the ATM. Then we got Mara here up 11.79%, Mawson up barely 0.91%, Riot 6%, SDIG up 1%, and Wolf up 4.18%. So all in all, it was a good day. Obviously nice to see all green across the board as well. We'll see how long this continues. Going back to Bitcoin, right now we are down a little bit here on the new day a little bit. We're down 0.4%. That's not bad. We'll see. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart really quick just to see where the RSI is at right now. RSI is trending downwards, which is a good sign. Price is kind of flat right now at least. So that's a good sign as well. So we're kind of rebuilding our strength a little bit here maybe for a next pump happening tomorrow or even overnight hours. But that's something that I like to look at is just the RSI, sometimes see where that's at. 1 hour is obviously extended a little bit here above the 70 mark. And then the 4 hour, yeah, that's definitely extended as well. So we may have a little break here before we go back up. Okay. So that's it on that, Bitcoin and things. So let's get into the financial reports. Here we'll go in alphabetical order as fast as we can here. So BitDigital Inc. announces first quarter of fiscal year 2024 financial results. We're not going to go through the whole thing here. Obviously, you guys can read that. We'll just look at the numbers that they do have for us. We'll look at some other things, some metrics that I have as well, and then we'll go on to the next one. I will obviously highlight things that I thought were important here. And obviously with BitDigital, we've been kind of questioning how profitable is the AI business with them. And we finally got our answer. So here's what they reported. The company issued a one-time service credit of 1.3 million to its HPC customer as compensation for decreased utilization during the initial deployment period, which included testing and optimization phases. Illustratively, adding back this credit would yield pro forma gross margins of approximately 72% on a net basis compared to reported gross margins of 61% for the segment. So that's still really good gross margins there, right? On top of that, you could probably tackle into it some overhead costs from just the SG&A, things like that. So we're still looking really good, somewhere around 55 on the lower end, percentage-wise or something like that, right around there. So really good margins there. That's obviously something we were looking for, and it looks like investors are liking it because obviously the stock did pretty good during the day and then after hours as well when everybody was able to digest all the information. So that was looking there good. Also, let's see here, they had 163 million in digital assets. Total assets was 281 million. We'll get into all the numbers here for BitDigital over here. So BitDigital, I forgot to put in the latest stock prices for today. So we're working off of 2 days. I believe this is from Monday stock prices for these guys. I was in a hurry trying to get all the data and put it, and I forgot to put in the actual stock prices. So market cap's going to be off a little bit here, but the shares outstanding now is 121 million. They did increase that a little bit here. We didn't get much news as far as, or at least I didn't see anything on hash rate growth currently. I know they want to get to 6 exahash by the end of the year. But here's what we have as far as last 4 quarters revenue. That has been increasing. That is nice to see. And this is only for self-mining. This does not include, obviously, their AI side of the business, which I may include as well. And maybe we'll include that as a different, another step into in this figure here. Because that's obviously going to be providing them revenue as well. And that's going to be steady revenue. So we don't really have to guesstimate or estimate on what that might be. Current quarter that we're in, obviously, right now is going to be down a little bit here to 16.6 million. Roughly, we're still in the middle of it, so that may change a little bit here, but that's obviously a decrease, which is kind of what we expected here. We were expecting half the revenue, but we had a really good April numbers for them, plus large amounts of Bitcoin transaction fees being added in there as well, helped bring this up quite a bit here. What else do I have here? Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation, that came in for me 18.94 million, so that's down, so that's good there. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin, that went up quite a bit here to 31.61 thousand here compared to the 23.43 that they had. We'll look at the numbers down below, but it does look like they had more expenses on the energy side of things potentially. Okay, Bitcoin mined quarterly, we've seen that that's kind of dropped a little bit here, which is kind of what we expect from companies that aren't growing their hash rate, right? That's going to decrease as time goes on, as network hash rate increases. So that's normal to see there. Debt to equity, that came down a little bit here, lower is better, so that's good. And then current ratio is still quite nicely high here at 12.34, so they got plenty of cash to pay off current liabilities, which is good. Total current assets increased to 189 million. Total current liabilities decreased to 15.35 million, so that's looking really healthy there and good. So really no concerns with them as financial side of things. Going down here to the actual numbers, we'll get into these here in a second. But looking at their assets here, we can see that cash and cash equivalents increased to 33 million. Then we have digital assets increased quite nicely here, 126 million here from 40 million. And that's surprising that that increased that much. How much did they hodl actually? They hodl, well, as of April, they hodled 992. So that is definitely quite a bit of digital assets there. Net investee, that's a new one here in lease. Current, that was 1 million. What else do we have here? Other current assets went down to 16. Digital assets held in fund went up to 9.1 million. Total current assets went up to 189 million. So that's a huge gain there, obviously, from the 8,300 million plus that went into that. Then total assets, we are at 291 here. Didn't have too much of a differences here on these. So 281 million is the new one now from 189 million. Okay, liabilities decreased to 15 million from 27, so that's looking good. Big decrease was deferred revenue here, down to 3.75 from 13 million, and other payables and accrued liabilities went down to 4 from 9.7, so that's looking good there as well. Total liabilities now at 25.9 million compared to 36 million, so that's really good there. Total liabilities and stakeholder equity 291 from 189, so that's looking really good there as well. And then here we get the revenues. So revenues came in at 21.89 million for self-mining. The high performance, which is the AI side of things, was 8 million roughly. Ethereum staking was 325,000. So total revenue came in at 30.28. I had them really close to the self-mining here, 21,891, which is up here. If we scroll up here, I was off by 0.06%. Just a bit higher actually than what they came in at. So really, really happy with that number. always try to be within like 2.5% at most, right? So we've been there pretty close, and then this time around we pretty much nailed them right on the money here for self-mining. So I'm happy with that as well. Going down here, expenses. Digital asset mining was 12 million here for the quarter compared to 9.3. So that is an increase of approximately 3 million. That's why I'm thinking that the cost to mine Bitcoin went up so much, is because they actually mined a little bit less and the cost went up. So that's the reason for it there. So after the halving, their cost would be, if this stays the same, right around 62,000 or something like that. So that's quite a bit there. Okay. Cost of revenue, what else do we have here? Ethereum staking was 16. High performance was only 3.1. So that's where we got the 8 million here. Cost of 3.1. Really good margins there on that one. So high performance computing came in at 60.8% roughly. So that's looking good. Depreciation was only 6.8. Quite a bit higher from the 3.4 that they were kind of averaging in the past. Pretty much double on that. General administrative also came down nicely here from the fourth quarter, at least, where they had 12.2, which obviously they added in salary, bonuses, stock-based compensation, and all that. But it's up a little bit here from obviously from Q3 as well, which was at 4.8. But their average is about 5 something, so they're up a little bit here, not much, which is good to see. Then what do we have here? Realized gain, loss, and exchanges. That was 45 million here, up from 18. Total other expenses, income net came in at 45. Loss income from operations was 47 million. So that's obviously up from the 30,000 here, looks like. So that's profitable. So that's good. Sometimes I have to look at these numbers because I'm looking at too many numbers. Total other income net was 4.59. That gave them 50.081 million in revenue. Do it per share came out to be 44 cents per basic and 43 per diluted. And then if we take out the depreciation on that, they would have came in at 50 cents per share, right? So really good, really profitable. And if we take out the realized gain on exchange of digital assets, so the value of Bitcoin going up, basically, if we take that out, they would still be profitable at that point. So really good. I think that's why the stock is obviously doing pretty well, because they were profitable even without that. Okay. Plus, then you can take out other things as well that are non-cash, and would actually make them even more profitable at that point. So overall, things are looking really good for them. If we look at over here, like we talked, 31,000 is relatively high to mine Bitcoin. So we're looking post-halving around 61,000 right now from the break even on it. Cost to mine, let's see, what else? We talked about debt to equity, current ratio, we talked about that. Book value of equity, I have them at 265 million. Price to book ratio, 0.9. Enterprise value, 203 million. EBITDA, 56 million. And then EV to EBITDA was 3.58. Revenue was 21. I probably should make that now 30 million instead of the self-mining only, because they came in at 27.2% of general administrative compensation, which is really good. So let's maybe update that to include all of their revenue here. So we may get even a better number here. Going back up here. So yeah, now 19.66% of their costs are associated with general administrative compensation for the company, which is pretty good. Anytime they can get it below 20% or even lower than that is a big, good thing. Okay. Shares obviously increased here to 221 million from 107, so that's not too bad. Overall, good things happening for the company of Bit Digital. I have them currently at $4.10 to $6.15. They're $2 and something now today. They were up a little bit. So they are undervalued. And then if you add on top of that the AI side of things, they should be probably valued a little bit more on that. And I will probably add in their AI business because it is continuing business for them for at least the next 2.5 years or so. So that's going to be definitely a driving force there as well for revenue. Okay, so that is it. Excuse me. Otherwise, for them, the only thing I can say is they got to increase their hash rate for self-mining. And if they can do that by this year, get to 6 exahash, maybe even more than that, that would be fantastic. I think that would obviously help the stock even more. But overall, things are looking good for Bit Digital. Maybe you guys have some concerns. I really don't. And we'll get into that in the Q&A side of things. Okay, so next, let's take a look at Bitfarms here. Bitfarms, and I should probably pull up my notes. I didn't get a chance to listen to Bit Digital's Q&A or the conference call. I think they're doing theirs tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But I listened to Bitfarms, I listened to Hut 8, and I listened to a portion of Iren. I had to change computers, and at that point, I couldn't get back in for some reason, which I tweeted to Iren about that they need to fix their website. Let me see here. Why is it not? I want to open up my notes. There we go. Opening up my notes. Okay. Oh, I got too many things going on here. Office notes. Where are my notes? There they are. Okay, so that's opening. We'll get into Bitfarms here. So Bitfarms reports first quarter 2024 results, and here's what we have. Obviously, the good thing here is that they are still on track to obviously receive 21 exahash, reach 21 exahash by the end of the year, which is a good sign there. What else do we have here? We had Ben Gagnon on as well. Jeff, I believe the CFO was on there as well, and the interim CEO was on the conference call as well. And then let me see here if I can find my notes here from today. There is Bitfarms. Okay, so here's what I thought that was really good. The Canadian vet of 15% no longer in place, right? They got the credit back for that for 20 some odd million, so that was good. They also spoke about AI. Right now, they are not interested in AI as there are not a lot of similarities except for the energy demand regarding the buildings, right? So the energy demand is pretty much the same, but they're saying there's not much the same. I guess they're just going to basically concentrate on Bitcoin mining for now. And that was Ben King speaking on that. They are looking to expand more in the United States, which I thought was great. And then Paraguay politicians favorable to legal BTC mining. At least that's what they're saying here on the conference call, which I thought was also great news there. Okay, so those are the types of things that I really got out of it. And that they are close to getting a new CEO as well. So all good things there. Yeah, here it is. 24 million in previous paid value added taxes. That was added back in. So that was good. And that might be on, I don't know if that was going to be added in that's probably going to be added in Q2, not Q1. Because I think that just happened recently here. They're still obviously planning to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year, which is great. I didn't provide any information that I heard as far as growth this month and next month to get to 10 exahash by the end of this month, 12 exahash by the other month in June. So we'll have to see on that one how they perform there. Okay, but let's get into Bitfarms as well. And Bitfarms shares did increase quite tremendously. So I think they're getting close to being, or at least using up their ATM potentially. I calculated that they used up like 66 million or something like that. And if you use the average price of $2.50 for the stock price over the quarter or something like that, or over the last 4 months, we're looking at potentially, what is that? 66 million times, let's see here, 66 times 2.5, you're looking at approximately, what is that, times 2.5. That's like 165 million roughly, right? And I think their ATM was for 275 million, if I'm not mistaken. So they're either close to it. I would think they're pretty close to it, but they're obviously going to need to pull a little bit on it more. And hopefully we'll get some information in the next, 20, 30 trading days or something like that from them when that might be happening here. But like we said, 21 exahash is their goal before the end of the year, right? So that's still on track, so that's good. Going down here, we can see that the last 4 quarters revenue has been increasing, which is nice to see. Current quarter's down, obviously, a little bit here. They didn't have much growth as far as hash rate is concerned in the Q1. That's why we had just a slight increase in growth. Had they had more hash rate growth in that month, we would have seen better revenue growth. Last 4 quarters operating costs are down just slightly here to 35.2 from 36 million, so that's good. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin mine's depreciation came in at 22.6 thousand, which is obviously an increase here, but we've had obviously the hash rate go up as well, so that's contributable to them and to BitDigital as well. Bitcoin mine quarterly has been coming down, and that's because they haven't been increasing their hash rate with the rise in network hash rate as well. Okay. Debt to equity went down to 0.16, which is really good. Current ratio, higher is better. Obviously, they're at 3 now, so they got plenty of cash to pay off current debts. That's not a problem. Total current assets also increased to 137 million, and then total current liabilities decreased to 45 million, which is also looking really good there. Okay, going down here to the actual numbers, we can see that current assets here. What do we have changed here? Cash and cash equivalents went down a little bit here to 65 from 84. Right, so they've been paying obviously for miners and infrastructure and all the things that's coming out of cash there right now. And then we had digital assets actually went up to 57 million here from 31 million. So that's the appreciation in that. And they're obviously calculating it here in the assets because they're not taking advantage of the FASB rules because they are located in Canada right now. And then total current assets increased to 137 from 129. So that's good there. What else do we have here? Property, plant, and equipment went down to 177 million from 186. And long-term deposits, equipment prepaid, and others obviously increased to 93 million from 44 million because they are getting to 21 exahash, so that's going to be coming up here. Total assets now is at 426 million. 378 was prior, so that's good. Liabilities side of things, liabilities decreased to 45 from 69, so that's good there. The big decrease was obviously warrant liabilities here to 18 now from 40 million. That was probably the big driver there. And what else do we have here? Current portion of long-term debt went down to 151,000 from 4 million, so that's good. Current portion of lease went down to 2.1 from 2.8, so that's good as well. Long-term debt, that just came up here to 1.5 million roughly. Lease liabilities pretty close. Actually, you were down here a little bit. Asset, that stayed the same. Total liabilities went down to 61 million from 83 million. Like I said, that's good. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity went up to 426 million from 378. That's good as well. Revenues here. Revenues did increase, obviously, from the fourth quarter, which is good. Expenses here, let's see here. Energy infrastructure went pretty, well, actually went down a little bit here. 21.3 from 21.6 million here, so that's good. Depreciation went up to 38.9 from 21. Purchase of electrical equipment went down to 387,000 from 750,000, and then electrician salaries and payroll taxes went down a little bit here as well. So cost of revenue was at 60.99, and the main thing for that was obviously depreciation and amortization. Okay, gross profit came in at 21%. If we take out depreciation, that came in at 22%, negative 21, positive 22 here. Okay, so obviously that trended down here a little bit. And that's mainly because they didn't install much hash rate. I think that's the main reason why. But that's why we have a pretty good growth plan going forward, getting from 7 exahash to 21 exahash. Okay, selling and general administration here, administrative came in pretty close to where it was before Q3 or Q4, 13.1, almost 13.2 million. Salaries actually went up a little bit here. Professional services went down, which is good. Insurance went up a little bit. Travel went down, which is good. Hosting and telecommunications went down, and advertising actually went down as well. So a lot of good things here on that side of things. Going down here, operating income loss was negative 23 million. Finance income was negative 11 million here, so they got 12 million now on net income before taxes. Deferred income tax expense recovery was 6.2 million, so they're down to 5.9 million negative on it. And then revaluation gain on digital assets net of tax came in at 17 million. So their total comprehensive income at came in at 11 million. Yeah, 11.4 million here. And they lost, basic and diluted shares was at negative 2 cents. And I think that's because they're using it over here. Yeah, net loss on income. But negative 2 cents. So you take out the basically depreciation in there and other things. They're basically positive at that point. If I take out depreciation here, we're looking at basically, like I said, 15 cents, right? Based on the diluted number of shares. And that probably should be using for the quarter. I think that's what we're using. Probably should be using the 398 or 94 million, something like that on this. But even at that point, it still would be positive a little bit. Okay. So that is it for Bitfarms. Over here, going up top, we can see here, let me see here. Revenues, where are we going? Okay. Custom mined Bitcoin, 22.6, like I said, that's obviously up. Debt to equity, we talked about that. Currency ratio, same thing. Book value was at 365. Price to book, 1.96. Enterprise value, 717. EBITDA, 15.4. Came in at 15.4 million. And then EV to EBITDA was 46.4. And debt to equity was 3.95. Revenue at 50 million here. General administrative came in at 13, so that's 26%. So that's actually not too bad there. Definitely would like to see that come down. I wonder what portion of that was actually like share-based compensation, things like that. But overall, pretty good, right? If that continues to come down, that would be even better. Because there was a 28.9 here in Q4, so it did come down here a little bit as well. All right, so overall, what do we think of Bitfarms? Bitfarms right now I think is undervalued. They should be probably between $4.29 and $6.43. I think they're definitely way undervalued right now. And obviously the market thought so too, because the stock did really well today, going up like 14%. We'll see what it does tomorrow. But overall, like I said, undervalued. The big thing is the growth going forward, which is what I really like. Right, getting to 21 exahash here from 7 exahash. So 14 exahash more. And that's going to definitely help them go forward. Plus they had announced, yesterday they announced another 100 megawatts that they're going to be adding at Paraguay. So that's going to be good news there as well. So that'll get us to maybe 27 exahash sometime in like the first half of 2025. Sorry, I was thinking Q2, but we're looking at the next year. So that is it. All right. So no problems there. Bitfarms, I think, is going to have a really good future going forward. As long as they can execute, we need a new CEO, obviously, on that. And we need to find out when they do actually stop using the ATM, when they're done diluting that. That would be great news there. Okay. Let's get into the next one here, which is going to be on HUT 8. Okay. So on HUT 8, let me see here what I listened to. What do I have in my notes? So HUT 8 obviously reports first quarter. This is for the first time that the company is as a combined company here. That we're getting data on. The prior data that we have was partially HUT 8 and partially USBTC. So the numbers are way off on that. So I basically started mainly fresh here. You'll see my charts. But the big thing takeaway from the conference call was they now have a 20 million annual run rate or AI customer that's going to be starting in the second half of 2024. They placed an order for 1,000 H100 cards, NVIDIA cards, purchased for this customer. So they're going to be getting, what is that going to be, approximately, roughly, like 1.8 something million in revenue on that side of things. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of their profit margins are on it as well. And let's take, I'm trying to think if there's anything in here that I didn't think I highlighted anything for them. But adjusted beta was 285, so they took advantage of, obviously, the FASB rules for them. That helped them out tremendously. And I think even without that, they would be just slightly profitable at that point. If we take out some other things that would need to be taken out that weren't cash-based or were impacted by the gains. Okay, so let's get into the numbers here for HUT 8. You guys can obviously read over this. I'm not going to do that for you guys because otherwise we're going to make this a 4-hour video. So if we look at HUT 8 here, going back up here. So they have now 90.39 million shares outstanding. I'm currently at 4.5, and there's something else that I learned here today, that they also have a joint venture with somebody which they share the profits and the expenses in that based on what I got from Sue when I reached out to her earlier today. Because my numbers were way off as far as their revenue side of things for self-mining. I was off by like 10 million. I'm like, why am I off so much? And I was reading the 10Q report, and I noticed that they have a joint venture there, that's part of it. So I reached out to Sue to see what the info was on that, as far as if they could actually provide us with the JV numbers for their hash rate there, and also for the BTC mines separated from their self-mining. It would make it obviously easier for me to be able to track them. Right now I'm trying to figure out I know what the percentage is, 50%, but trying to figure out what the hash rate is for each one. So I may do that over this weekend, see if I can dive through all their documents, figure that out, if Sue doesn't respond back. Okay, so that's kind of what we're dealing with here on this one. Obviously, the HODL was a big factor for them. We know that going down here. And like I said, I don't have a lot of data on the combined company right now. It's basically the first quarter. That's the data that we do have on it. So we, like I said, 30.36 million was revenue, and that was on, was it for the self-mining only? Let me see, what do I have here? 30. Yep, that was for the self-mining only. And then current quarter, I'm estimating 20.29. We'll see where that comes in at. And then last 4 quarters, we don't have the information. So the current quarter was at 28.36 million for operating costs, just for, I'll have to take a look at that now too, because now I'm thinking, I don't think it was 30.36 million, and they only had operating costs of 28. That seems kind of high. So I think that includes all the other business segments as well that they have in there. Cost of mining one Bitcoin came in at 19.28. Bitcoin mined quarterly at 162. Debt to equity is 0.35. Current ratio was at 0.3. Obviously, we want that to be higher. It was better. They do have plenty of, obviously, Bitcoin and thing. So they're fine there. And then what is this? Total current assets was 333.5 million. And then total current liabilities was 107 million. So they're probably going to be dipping their fingers into the BTC jar a little bit. I think as they mine it like they have been in the past year, at least recently. Okay, going down here, we'll get into these numbers down below in a second here. So here's what we got. Total current assets, this should be now in USD, is 33.5 million. They reported with 1 month of HUT 8 and basically 6 months of USBTC in this for H2 2023 USBTC of 61.6 million. Right, it's down to 33 million right now. So like I said, the numbers aren't that great to compare against. Total assets is now at 999 million, almost $1 billion there, compared to the 740 that they had before. And that was obviously based on digital assets held in custody. That increased nicely for them. What else do I have here? Total current liabilities is now 107 from 112, so that's good. They paid down some stuff there. Total liabilities is now 258 from 253, so big increase here. Not really. Not I'm seeing here at least 13. 20, finance lease liability less current portion was 22 million, so that's what increased it. Right there, going down here. What else do we have here? Total liabilities and stockholder equity, like I said, 999 million, 740 right now. And then revenues here. So we got self-mining here, came in at 30.35. I had them at 40-some million. Yeah, 44 million. So I was way off. I was off by 47%. So I got to figure that out, what that number is for BTC self-mining and BTC joint venture mining, right? Then I can get probably better numbers on it. So data's not that great on HUD 8 right now. Going down here, managed services was 9.2 million here. High performance computing was 3.3. Other was 8.8. And that's the other thing I got to figure out what the other is. I think that is part of the JV as well, maybe. I'll have to figure that out because that would kind of make a little bit more sense here. If I included that, plus that, I'd be off by 4 million or something like that, roughly. So I'd be a little bit closer to it than where I am right now. So I'll have to take a look into what that number is. And then we got obviously cost of revenue here for digital asset mining. Yeah, 16 million here. That one, cost of revenue managed services was 2.7, so definitely profitable there. Cost of revenue HPC colocation and cloud came in at, okay, so that would be this one here. Came in at 2.5, so yeah, still slightly profitable there. And then cost of other was 6, and then we got 8 million there. And if we look at the percentages here, self-mining gross profit was 45%. Managed services was 70%, it looks like, on it. And high-performance computing was about 22%. Other was 30%. So obviously their best one is managed services here as far as gross profit is concerned. And then self-mining was only 45%. But they're also operating with old equipment. So can't expect that to be high when you're running rigs that are now 3 to 4 years old, if not older. But that's kind of what we're dealing with here. But they have some newer ones that are like the 100 terahash, I think, from the USBTC side of things. But those are still at least probably 2 to 3 years old on that side of things. Okay. What else do we have here? Selling general administration was at 19.9 million here, almost 20 million here. They don't break it down as far as what everything else was like HUT 8 used to do, which was great. We could see all the other things like share-based payments, salary, and all that stuff. They don't do that. I wish they would do that going forward. That'd be nice to see as well. What else do we have here? So total operating expenses, this was negative 243, and that was basically because of the gain on disposition of digital assets, right? So that's 274 million repricing of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Operating income loss was 266 million, which was obviously a positive, so that's not a loss. And then what else do we have here? Total other expenses, net income before taxes came in at 262 million. So if we take out right there, let me see, go all the way down. Let's go all the way down. Net income was 250 million here. 876,000. And then if we take out, obviously, the 274, right, you get a negative number at that point. So if you add 250 million plus the negative 274, you get negative 24 million or something like that. Right, so at that point they would be negative, but you could also take out depreciation in there, some other things like taxes, I think, was 4 million. So, I mean, you're getting really close to where they could be possibly profitable at that point. I would have to run the numbers, but that's kind of just the high-level numbers on it here, and I think I did that here just without the FSB, right? They're going to be like negative 7.7 without stock-based compensation, and I think without depreciation as well in there, so they're still roughly about 7 million negative on that. Right, so that's just a high-level overview. Right, we would have to take out other things as well that would be attributable to the reclassification or the revaluation of Bitcoin HODL on it. But $2.90 is what they came in at. Obviously, the majority of that was through the HODL, and diluted was 276, and that's kind of what we're dealing here with as far as shares are concerned. So, looking up over here on some of these other things that we have here. As far as cost to mine Bitcoin, it was 19,000 for them. And then I don't have the depreciation because depreciation is separate from that anyways right now. Debt to equity, we talked about that current ratio, book to value. Book value of equity was 707 million. Price to book ratio 1.047. Enterprise value 448. EBITDA was 269 million. EV to beta 1.6. Revenue 51.71, and I think I'm including all of that total revenue. Yep. And then take a look at general administrative compensation. They are at, that doesn't seem right, times -1. Why am I doing -1? There we go, 38%. Still relatively high for them. So scale fixes a lot of these issues. So I think if they had more self-mining or other revenue streams that were increasing by that, that would definitely help out here on that side of things here. Okay, so obviously the HODL helped out tremendously. Big thing that I always say on them is they need to get newer machines faster than what they're planning on. They're still kind of twirling their thumbs a little bit, waiting for better machines to come along and better prices to come along as well, and maybe build out infrastructure and things like that. But they're operating some of the older machines here, which were like, I'm guessing these 77 terahash miners are out, along with some of these 80, 90 terahash 93s. I mean, those things, I think they even said that they're going to be operating those when it makes sense for them. They're basically going to run them to the ground, I think, which is unfortunate because I think that would definitely help them out if they actually started to grow. But maybe that's not what their plan is. It doesn't seem like their plan is that. But that's it. So let me know what you guys think. Based on this, I have them at $5.34 to $8.01. They're at $8.19. This does not obviously include the business, managed business side of things, the hosting or whatever the hosting other thing is, the HPC side of things as well. This is just on self-mining itself. So they could possibly be valued more based on that, right? Okay, so that is it for Hot 8 here. Let me know what you guys think. We'll talk about that in the comments or in the discussion here later on in the Q&A. All right, finally, Iren. Iren came out with a slew of reports today, towards the end of the day. They reported, obviously, expansion plans to increase to 30 exahash by 2024. They came out with an ATM as well. So they were up in the regular trading day. But when the ATM came out, I saw the stock was doing going in the red here in the after hours. But here's what we have for it. So I'm going to have to put this stuff in later on, probably tomorrow or something like that, as far as how many miners are getting, what type of miner they're getting. We'll put that into their spreadsheet there. The great news is obviously they're going to be growing here. So they've also improved their, accelerated their timeline here. They're going to get to 20 exahash by the end of the third quarter, and then they're going to get to 20 exahash by the end of the third quarter, and 30 exahash by the end of the fourth quarter is their timeline. And then they're going to possibly add on another 10 exahash on top of that in early 2025 to get to possibly 40 exahash. So that's great, right? So now we have more or less a race between Marathon, Riot, Cleanspark, and Iren to see who can get to probably like 30 exahash first, because those guys are all saying that they're going to get to 30 exahash by the year, or at least Marathon saying that they're going to get to 50 exahash. We have Riot, Cleanspark, and Iren all saying that they're going to get to somewhere right around 30, 31, 32, 38 exahash by the end of the year, right? So we're having definitely a strong race to be like the top miner here. And it's fun to see because them growing obviously is going to be growing accretively to us as stock shareholders, right? So that for me is great because that's what I love to see, miners that are growing, especially ones that are efficient, things like that. I think it's going to be great for the stockholders as well. And obviously the ATMs. The ATMs are always a drain on the short-term stock price, so which could be 3 to 6 months sometimes, and maybe a little more, depending how fast they can pull on that ATM. But we've obviously seen this with CleanSpark in the past. We've seen it with others as well, where when they're running the ATM, right, the stock price does get depressed for a little bit, or for a while at least. But after that, once they report that they're fully funded, the stock will do great, right? Also, Dan reported that they have no intention of pulling on it just yet, but they do have it just in case they need it. So if that's the case, they're going to need it obviously to get to 40 exahash and possibly beyond that. Don't know how much they're going to need exactly. But the other thing is, they probably should have done this like when they did the first 500 million ATM. They probably should have went for like 1 billion ATM at that point. I think right now probably wasn't the best opportunity to do it. Obviously today Bitcoin price was going up, which was great, but maybe they could have held off a little bit, right? Held off a month or two. Bitcoin would have been going up potentially from now till then, and then do the ATM when the stock price is much higher. Right now you're at $5 or something like that, and it's just going to kind of suppress the stock price, I think, a little bit. But eventually we'll do great. But if you're long on Iren, right now is probably a good time to dollar cost average into them. I will be dollar cost averaging into them some more because I see the growth here. I see all the good things that are happening here, which is great news there. Okay, so that's just really quick on that. So they are going to be getting like the S21 miners and S21 Pro miners, or T21 miners and S21 Pro miners. Okay, so that's all good news there. So definitely getting a bunch of these, and will run through the numbers here, but they are getting 14 terahash per the T21s and then 18.9 terahash for the Bitmain S21 Pros news. And I think they don't have to pay for the purchase until, yeah, here it is. 12 exahash purchase at 15.1 terahash plus 3.8 terahash payable 9 months after delivery. So they do have some pretty good options here, but I think they are paying a little bit higher than some of the other miners got these at. The Pros, at least Cleanspark, I think is paying only 14 or 16, something like that. For my memory is correct on that. Okay. So that is it for that one. Next here, obviously the 500 million ATM, we kind of covered that as well. So this came out today alongside with their growth plans, and well, growth plans, and you get an ATM. So this is obviously for 500 million here. We'll see when they do pull on it, when they do use it up. But yeah, that's obviously something that's fine with me. I don't mind ATMs as long as we're getting growth, and I even tweeted about it. I'm like, this is great. I mean, you can buy the stock at a cheaper price here now, especially if you're long on it. Okay, but here's the report for the third quarter FYI 24 results, which is obviously our Q1 here. So their end of year is going to be next quarter. And it's really great that they're actually providing these quarterly results now, because it does help the investors see what's actually going on in the company, which is, I think, very, very important. Excuse me, I'm going to have to take a sip of water because I'm going to start lose my voice here. Okay. Going down here, I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to cover. I think everything else was pretty much laid out before that. So let me take a look at my Iren notes. Pretty much already covered it. So 20 exahash by the end of Q3, 30 exahash by the end of 2024, which is fabulous. And then 40 exahash by mid-2025 is optional, obviously, on the table. It's something that they can do. And we'll probably do that because everybody's growing here, right? Cleanspark has purchases for 50 exahash that are being delivered this year. But we won't talk about Cleanspark here. We'll talk about Cleanspark in another video. So they will probably do that just to kind of keep up with, trying to be like maybe the top 3-4 miners in the space here. Okay. All right, let's get into Iren here. So Iren has right now 141 million shares outstanding. They're currently, I think they stated on the call or in the notes and the press release that they're at 10 exahash already, right? So that's great there. So they're going to be getting, obviously, well, future hash rate is going to be higher than this now. It's going to be 30 exahash by the end of the year. So that's great news there. Going down here, last 4 quarters revenue has been increasing. And September is missing right now because I think they were, I don't know why that's missing. Oh, because they were doing the biannually reporting, and I was trying to figure that out. Okay. That's why Q1 came in at 54 million. Obviously, huge increase here in revenue, about 12 million. So that's good there. Current quarter, we're looking at about 51 million right now. So not much of a decrease, and that is mainly because you can see that here that they installed quite nicely here into April, 9.4, and right now they're at 10 exahash. So that definitely helps decrease some of that. That helps improve the revenue. You're not seeing that such a huge decrease after the halving event. Plus, like I said, we had also really good April and transaction fees being added to it as well. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation came in at 36.5. That's down from 37, so that's actually really good. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation, I got that at 19.7 here for them. So that's obviously up here. We'll take a look at that down below. Bitcoin mine quarterly has been coming down here. All right. And then what do we have here? Debt to equity is nice and low now, 0.06. Current ratio, higher is better, 7.47. Plenty of cash to pay off current debt, so that's not a big deal. And then total current assets went up to 310 million for 109, 3x there basically. And then total current liabilities went up a little bit here to 32.34. Not a big deal there. They got plenty of cash right now after they've been pulling on their previous 500 million ATM. Okay, going down here. Oh, let's take a look at it. We got quite a bit of numbers here. See if we can squeeze it all in a little bit better. Okay, so we'll get into these here in a second. Current assets, like I said, 310 million for 109, so that's mainly a good thing, really good thing. Cash is the main reason why. They got 259 million in cash. It's going to be property and plant, property and equipment, 357 million from 264, so that's good there. Total non-current assets, 413 from 307, that's good. And then total assets, 723 from 417 million, so that's good. That's really good. Going down here, total current liabilities, 41 million up from 32 million. That's not too bad. Total liabilities is now 46 million from 35 million. That's not too bad either. Then total stockholder liabilities and stockholder equities, that's 723 million from 417 million. So that's really good there. Revenues, self-mining, 54.39. I came in at, what did I come in at on my numbers here? 53.9. I'm off by 0.65%. Really good. Really happy with those numbers. So we were really close on them. Okay. Going down here, operating costs. Okay, expenses. So operating costs came in at 36 million here. This was, yeah. See, I was trying to figure out, they reported 74 million for H1 for them. I was trying to figure out what that was going to be basically for Q1 and Q2 for them, which was not an easy task to do. So these are estimated numbers here. So that's why 36 million is showing up here on that one. So it's down a little bit here from it. Okay, depreciation, amortization. Let's see here. That was actually up a little bit here, 8.6. Electricity charges, 19.8 compared to 16.7 here. So that's the main reason why I think this increased here. And they didn't have much growth in the first part of the quarter if we look up here. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling up and down here for you guys. We had some growth, obviously, from 6.2 to 8, but I think the network hash rate also grew. And yeah, I mean, we're seeing that the Bitcoin that they mined here was kind of flat here overall. Okay, so that's the reason for that. Let's see, where are we at here? Revenue side of things, that one. Employee benefits was 4.3, in line from where it was probably before, around the 4, so that's fine. Share-based compensation was 5, so that's also in line with what they've had before as well. What else do we have here? Professional fees, those actually went down a little bit. What else do we have here? Gain, loss, and disposal of property, plant, equipment, that's down to 4.5 from 7.8. And then operating profit was actually, looks like 6 million here instead of negative 9.6 for the first half. We had negative 2 million here in the possibly the Q2 for them. So that's good there. Profit loss before income taxes was actually 12 million here. Net loss gain income for the period was 8 million here. Other comprehensive income was negative 7.3. Foreign currency exchange on that one. What else are here? Net loss, they actually squeaked out a positive, so 1.3 million in positive, and that reported for them 8 million here in 8 million. Wow, 8.2 cents, 8.27 cents, because they're doing it in cents, not dollars, so it's basically 8 pennies and a fractional penny. 8.27, and basic, and that's basic diluted was 7.7 cents. Okay, so they're profitable, so that's a good sign there. Even with them not obviously having any HODL or any FASB advantages or anything like that that they can use on this, just from basic operations, they were profitable, which is a good sign to see here because they were obviously losing quite a bit of money. And like I keep saying, scale fixes a lot of the issues that the miners have. The bigger the scale that you can get to, your overall costs that are fixed more or less, right? Employees, salaries, things like that, those should be more or less steady going forward. You don't need to increase that by a large amount, even if it was as your hash rate growth. The only thing you're going to be increasing is maybe a little bit of manpower as far as operation side of things. But in general administrative, that should be pretty flat. You might have to get 1 or 2 more people, so it shouldn't be that much more. Okay, so that's all looking good there. And then going up here, yeah, cost to mine 1 Bitcoin, obviously it went up. Cost went up on that. Debt to equity, current ratio, we covered that as well. Book to value of equity is 677 million. Price to book ratio 1.069. Enterprise value was 937 million. And then EBITDA came in at 20.9 million. I don't have EV to EBITDA, but I do have debt to EBITDA, which was 2.21. Revenue came in at 54. Their general administrative compensation was at 10 million, so that's 18.68 million, so that's really good there. We did increase shares by about 34%. And I do have them at $12.96 to $19.43. Is that right? Did I do this right? Or did I mess something up? That's for the June quarter. That's right. It seems like it's a bit higher than I was expecting it to be. Let's see here. And we're using the last 3 quarters as well. Okay. So that's good. And 50%, 12.96 to 1944. Yep. They're at 513. Okay. Yeah, they're definitely way undervalued from where they should be, based on my numbers at least. And then if they can continue to grow the way that they are, I mean, that's going to be huge for shareholders going forward. Short term, there's going to be some pain, obviously, with the ATM dilution and things like that. But if investors looked at it in a different light, instead of being a bad thing and being a good thing, investors should be buying because they are growing, right? You want to buy into growth, you would get the price up higher. That means they would dilute less, meaning everybody would get diluted less. But investors don't look at it this way. I look at it that way. I'm like, yay, they're going to be growing. Fine, they got an ATM, no big deal. But they're going to obviously be growing much further, much farther, and much higher into the future here in the next 9 to 12 months. That's going to be accretive to us because the Bitcoin price goes up. That's going to be a lot more revenue for them going forward. So, okay. I think that is it. We're going on 50 minutes of me talking and rambling here. Let's get into some of you guys' Q&A side of things. And my little sales pitch here. Patreon members get access to all of these spreadsheets. Link is down in the description for that. $8 a month. You might be able to find a spot that's at $5 or $4 a month still. And if you pay annually, you get 10% discount. Plus, you get access on all the tiers to the private Discord server as well. All right. Thank you very much. All right. That's a lot of talking. I'm tired. Let's get into the Q&A side of things. I'm sure you guys have a bunch of questions here that you guys want to ask. But overall, I was really, really happy with today, the way things worked out for a lot of these companies reporting today. So I couldn't be any more happier than I am already, the way things are playing out. But we're still early here. So let me get into your guys' Q&A side of things, see what we got here. Okay. Yeah, kind of what I was thinking. Why announce the ATM now? Just hold off. Let us little fish enjoy our day in the sun. Yeah, I mean, they could have waited on that, I think. But obviously they came out with great plans for growth. And then I'm sure investors would have been asking, oh, how are you going to pay for it, right? So then they came out with the ATM right away. Go, there's the ATM. That's how we're going to pay for it potentially. Let's see. Iren versus Cleanspark, which one has more potential upside if you're looking to invest? Would you split between the two, or would you more in one over the other, and for what reason? Okay, good question on there. Iren has like 3 gigawatts of potential future power that they can get to, right? They already have those sites or something like that. So they have infrastructure, or at least land and infrastructure that they need to get to 3 gigawatts locked in, I think, right now, right? So there's plenty of growth for them going forward. The only thing is obviously they have to build out, buy machines and do all those things as well. Cleanspark obviously has the machines right now. They don't have the infrastructure. So there's the opposite story for them. Cleanspark is at 17 exahash right now. They want to get to 32 exahash by the end of the year. They have bought facilities in Wyoming, which will get them closer. I think they'll get them to like 25, 27 exahash. They still obviously need more to get to 32 and then obviously to 50 exahash. So they need to go out and buy those things, right? Which I think they can do because they've been kind of doing this for a while now, where they've been buying these little smaller sites, these 50, 75 megawatts, 100 megawatt sites for the past 2-3 years. And they've been doing pretty well at that. So I think that's going to be their plan going forward. That might change later on, but right now that's kind of the plan. The only difference there is obviously Cleanspark has a little bit more HODL, which I think helps obviously with Bitcoin going up in value. It could obviously hurt them when Bitcoin goes down in value in a quarter, which right now we're kind of down from where we were in the prior quarter. But based on those things, right, I think they're both very good companies. Some good things on both, some bad things on both either, right? One is to build out, one is to buy, right? So I don't know how you want to look at it. It's never financial advice here, but I like both of them. I got into Cleanspark in 2022 because I saw the growth potential there and they were doing the right things. Iren, I saw that as well towards the end of 2022 more so. I was looking to buy into them, but I'm glad I didn't buy into them then because they returned 3.5 exahash of machines that were part of their special purpose vehicle, right? Those were not cash flow positive, so they basically defaulted on those. That didn't obviously impact their operations or the company itself, but it did obviously push them back as far as growth. Ever since then, I've been keeping an eye on them. And once they started coming out saying that they're buying miners, doing this and doing that, and getting to exahash, right? That's kind of like, okay, I started buying back into them, or I started buying into them in, when was it, November of last year, right? So I started slowly getting into them because I wanted to buy more into Cleanspark and I wanted to buy more into Bitfarms. And I'm pretty much set with my Bitfarms shares right now. I'm happy with the amount that I have. So the next one that I'm going to be buying into is Iren, right? So you can go either way, right? On Cleanspark or Iren, I would say you can't lose. I don't think you'll lose with either one of those. Let's see. Oops, I missed some. You guys are typing in a bunch of questions here. Okay, which is good. Minor Doc responded here. Iren has more upside, 50-50 Iren Cleanspark. Not bad, right? Depends on how you want to do it, but definitely not bad. Love your work, bro. Thank you. Iren or Bitfarms, which do you think has the most upside? Thanks, Sebastian. I think their upside is, okay, if you look at growth potential going forward, I think Iren has a little bit more. Bitfarms has been doing a really good job here lately, getting infrastructure, buying and expanding megawatts in Paraguay, Argentina, and elsewhere. So I think both are going to be pretty aggressive here going forward, right? They want to stay in that like top 5 miner range, right? So that includes Marathon, Riot, Cleanspark, and you got possibly Iren and Bitfarms in there as well, right? Top 5 miners. So going forward, I think they're both going to be going at it against each other, which is obviously good for us investors because their hash rate is going to be growing. They're going to be generating more revenue. As far as which one's better longer, I don't know. That's a tough question. They're both undervalued right now, right? Bitfarms has a little bit of a hodl, not much, right? And they were both going to get to the same amount in hash rate, 21 exahash for both by the end of the year. Now Iren obviously updated that a little bit and sped that up. So it might be slightly on Iren. I don't know, right? But with the ATM, that's going to keep the stock down as well. So if Bitcoin starts ripping, we might have it where Bitfarms kind of maybe front runs a little bit more than Iren does. Just a thought there. I don't know, but I obviously I'll like them both. Let's see. Hashrate wasn't cash flow positive. They had to sell 37 million worth of BTC and still dropped 12 million cash on hand. It's not as good as it looks. Yeah, I agree, right? The only thing that helped them out was obviously the huge hodl position that they have there. They got to get quite a few things fixed, I think, and, well, scale. They got to scale. It's basically what they got to do. Great day, Bitfarms rocked. Does Iren report quarterly now with lofty targets? They should keep us informed. Yes, Dan has said that they are going to inform us now quarterly because we have been speaking out about it. Like, why aren't you guys reporting quarterly? You should be reporting quarterly. You're in this large group of miners that are reporting quarterly, and then they're reporting every 6 months. So they're lagging behind because investors don't have the insight into what's going on with them, right? A week in Bitcoin miners is like a year with other companies because you have all these information coming out and everything else. So we definitely need that going forward, and I think they will be doing that going forward. At least Dan has said that they will be. Let's see. Next question. Sebastian, burned again with width of Iren today, similar to Cleanspark, twice bitten. Can't pronounce that word. Quaternary shy. Why would they issue an ATM offering with their stock price at a low range? Does not compute SPOC. Yeah, I mean, we've seen this with Cleanspark. Obviously, they've diluted with an ATM. We've seen it with Bitfarms as well. We've seen it with Marathon. We've seen it with Riot. They all do it. Sometimes I think their timing is not the greatest. I don't know why they would do that. Come out with an ATM on the same day that they had pretty good results on quarterly results, right? Why not wait a while? Why not wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, a month even? I mean, it's not like they need the cash right now to do it. They could have just waited a month to do that. And maybe they weren't expecting Bitcoin to rip today too. So maybe that's why they did it. But they reported, I think once they reported, they have to report it. But yeah, I just don't know why they did that. They could have held off, I think, in my opinion, maybe. But like I said, I think if it's accretive to investors and they're going to be growing their hash rate even more, I think that's a good thing. So if you can dollar cost average in, that's what I'm going to be doing here. Really enjoy your videos. Appreciate the effort. Prepare and pass on your knowledge. Thank you for the thoughtful answers. You're very welcome. Yeah. You know, I'm investing in these guys too, so I want to know this information as well, just like you guys do. And I do track the data. I do all that other stuff that I need to do. And it's just kind of passing along to you guys. So I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something from it. Let's see. Would you recommend adding to Bitfarms position now after the strong earnings report, or potentially wait until CEO announcement if Ben becomes CEO? I mean, even if Ben doesn't become CEO, depending on the CEO they get, I'm sure they're going to get a pretty good one. But I've always recommended dollar cost averaging because I don't know where the bottom's going to be on any of these guys, right? I don't think anybody really knows. So I've always stood fast on it's timing the market, not timing the market. And if you can, dollar cost average in, obviously. That's my motto here, at least. So if you can, I would do that, right? We don't know if the stock's going to continue to rip or if it might come down a little bit here. I don't know that. But I think I think right now is a really good price for where the stock is. Could it go down a little bit more? Sure. Right. But at that point, I think it still would be a buying opportunity. Let's see. What will it take for Bitfarms to get to $5 to $7 a share? I have 18,000 shares. So you're kind of like right around where I'm at. As far as share count is concerned, I would think they have pretty good numbers here. So maybe they can get to about $2. I think Bitcoin goes up to like 85, 90,000, 100,000. At that point, we could possibly get to like $5 per share. But we also need to see how they build out, right? Can they actually get to 10 exahash by May, end of May? Can they get to 12 exahash by June? If they're off by a little bit, that's fine, right? They don't have to be exactly right on the money, but as long as they're close to that, if they're at 9.5 or 9.6, whatever it might be exahash by May, and then like 11.5 by the end of June. Not a big deal, right? They're off by a little bit. I'm always pretty forgiving on those types of things. I'm not forgiving when they report they're going to be at 10 exahash and it takes them another year to get there. So that wouldn't work out. But yeah, going back to that, I would just say I think right now is a pretty good stock price. I think it's been beaten down quite a bit, obviously because of the FUD in Argentina, the FUD on the CEO. And what else do we have here? The FUD on taxes in Canada as well. So there's just been a lot of FUD on the stock. I think it's been beaten down. And as long as Bitcoin continues to go up, I think they will do just fine going forward and do really well on that one. Any thoughts on Mawson results today? No, I have not had a chance to take a look at it because I've been busy with the other 4 here. So as you guys know, I put the other 6 smaller miners, Mawson included in that, Sphere, Stronghold, who else is in that? Digihost, DMG, and there was another one, Argo, I think. Those are the 6 smaller miners. I will talk about them probably towards the end of the month here. I will go through the data for the April numbers for you guys and also the quarterly results for them as well in a single video at that point. Just to kind of keep an eye on them, see how they're doing, right? We could have potentially another Cleanspark on our hands that started out with nothing and became basically the number 2 spot here. So we definitely want to keep an eye on those, see how they're doing. What else do we have here? Sebastian, what do you think about Galaxy? They have 5.x after acquiring Helios and are adding miners. They don't report monthly results, I don't think. If they did, I would probably track them, right? But they don't do that. But if they continue to grow, that would be interesting, obviously, right? And Galaxy is run by Mike Novogratz, right? So definitely like the guy there. He's made some big decisions in the past with some altcoins, but, you know, and then they've done a pretty good job, I think, with acquiring Helios. Let's see. Is it a good time to buy some Bit Digital day after a great earnings report? Might be, right? We know that obviously the AI side of the business is going to be good going forward for them, 60-70% profit margin, which is great. The only thing that I have a concern with them is their hash rate growth for their self-mining. I'd like to see that coming and go up a little bit more, I think. But that's up to you. I'm not in them because I'm looking for growth in the Bitcoin miners, right? So that's Iren, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, and you could also take a look at Riot, Marathon, Core as well. Okay. Bitfarms, Iren, and Cleanspark price targets by the end of 2024. Bitcoin hits 90 to 100,000. So we were going up basically 50% roughly, more or less, right? We're at 60 some. Yeah, so that'd be 50% increase in Bitcoin price. So at that point, we're looking at maybe 2 to 3x on the miners from where they are right now, maybe 4 or 5, depending on how investors FOMO into it potentially. So I would kind of look at that. So if they're at right now, whereas Bitfarms is at 2. If you go to, let's just say 3x, you're looking at, would that be $6 per share? Iron's at $5 right now. You look at 3x on them, they'd be like $15. Cleanspark's at $15. You're looking at possibly maybe like $30 to $45, something like that, potentially at that point. Let's see. Any comments on investing in Hut 8? I never got into Hut 8 because there's reasons for it. Right, they do have a lot of infrastructure that they're managing. The only thing that I don't like is obviously the old miners that they're currently running on. No real news as far as how they're going to be increasing that. They do have a huge hodl position, which obviously is helping them out. What else? Now that's it pretty much. So there's a lot of good things with them, and there's also quite a few bad things as well with them. Operations haven't been great. Uptime hasn't been great. Things like that I look at that I want to see in miners. So that's up to you. If you want to invest in Hut 8, that's completely up to you. Let's see. Okay, I think that is it. Are we all caught up here? Let's see. I think we are all caught up. Did I miss any questions? I don't think I missed anything. Let me look. Let's see. Yeah, I think we are all caught up. Obviously, it's late. It's already 11 o'clock here. So I think we will call it a day, guys. We covered that one. Any investing in Hut 8? Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so what's going to happen going forward? Well, depending where Bitcoin price goes, we will see what happens, obviously, going forward. Bitcoin right now is still down a little bit here. It's down 0.48% on the new day. We obviously crossed above the 50 simple day moving average, which is nice to see as well. So that might hold us as support going forward. And then, I think it's still going to be kind of bumpy ride going up to 100,000 here. So we're going to have nice green days like we just had today. Then we're going to have pullbacks again like we had prior, where we went down 15, 20, 23%. So be prepared for those things. They are going to happen. We can't avoid those. And then we'll see by the end of the year. I'm still thinking by the end of the year we might be at like 100,000 if all goes well. My initial price target for Bitcoin this cycle was about 180,000 potentially. But with the spot Bitcoin ETFs and everything else, pensions buying into them, banks buying into it, everything else, we might go higher than that, which would be fine by me. I think would be fine by you guys as well. Okay, let me see if we have any more questions. I thought something popped in here. Let's go back to the Q&A side of things. Thought somebody... how about a rundown on the indicators you use on TradingView? Oh, well, we could definitely get into that if you guys wanted to. And why is my thing lagging so much? Wow, there's quite a few questions that popped in here, but my thing is lagging. Why? Why is my app lagging? Okay. Man, it's like stuck. Are you guys able to see all this? Yeah, you're able to see it all. Let's see here. Okay, so let's just do a rundown of my indicators here really quick. So I have the RSI down here. I got the up and down volume here, MACD down here, not really much there. And then I use the VRVP, which is over here, which shows us the volume. And then we have the simple moving averages as well, which are the purple lines, red, blue lines as well, and the green lines. And that's basically what I go by. And then I put in some regular lines for where I see support and resistance possibly being in. And you guys can't see it here. Oh, I'm talking to myself. Oh, where's it at? There it is. Okay. So here's the VRP one, which shows volume. We got the simple moving averages, which are the purple, blue, and green lines here. And then we got the green lines over here that I put in myself, which are kind of the support and resistance lines on BTC price. Then we have the RSI down here, up and down volume over here, MACD, and that is basically it. And I just try to see if maybe there's a wedge happening sometime in the road like I did yesterday. I saw a wedge potentially here. So I drew it. Obviously, we went above it today, which was nice to see. I thought maybe within the next couple of days we'd do that. But that's kind of the way I set it up pretty simply. I don't really trade anyways, right? Daily. I look more to see where things might be going. And will I have better maybe price entries to get into like Bitfarms and Iren going forward? That's kind of what I look for, but I don't trade on these at all. Okay. Q&A side of things. Let's see if my Q&A went back in. Okay, yeah, Richard is saying, weird, the question stopped showing on my chat. Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. So I don't know if it's YouTube that's malfunctioning for me or if it's the app that I'm using here on it. Let's see, I think I saw a couple questions here down in the list that I missed. I talked about that one. I don't know indicators you use. Okay, we did that. Yeah. Okay, I thought there was something I thought there were more questions there. All right, YouTube is acting up on me today. Let's see. Why is it not getting me the most recent ones? And I don't want to restart the thing. Yeah. All right, we'll call it a day. We're having some issues here, obviously. Technical issues, as I like to say. Error Technical difficulties, please stand by. We'll see what happens later on. But that is it. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. I greatly appreciate you guys. I know it's late. And then, obviously, the spreadsheets will be updated for the Patreon members. I'll send those out probably tomorrow because it's already late. And then chapters will be edited in tomorrow as well down below for you guys because it is late. I got to get some sleep. All right. So I wish you guys a great Thursday. We got Friday coming up as well. Hopefully, Bitcoin continues to rip going forward for us. And we all become millionaires at that point. All right. That is it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.